Yesterday it was so windy. I watched whole trees come down outside my windows. Very last scene of Fight Club-esque.
That feeling when you put a lot of time and thought into something and in return you get a measly TY.
Oh, the TY. Better than a GM. I get it, crypto guy. You want me to have a good morning and to buy your NFT.
I'm not trying to one-up anyone here, but the eggplant emoji you receive from a deceased person's cell phone, not to be too morbid, but...
Have such a good day. Hello, world. Welcome back to Have Such a Good Day, the show that wants you to do just...
What's up, party people? Episode 179, Sarah. We are inching up to the 80s.
179 is feeling
the
fine.
1980s, my favorite decade. But this is the show that unpacks the absurdity of everyday life for your entertainment. All the things we talk about. We cover lots of territory, and we're so happy to have you with us on this fine,
We are.
day.
We do try to. We run the gamut. Is that a phrase?
Everything
I don't
but the
know.
kitchen
My brain
sink.
is not. Everything but the girl. You know,
everything
all
but
those
the girl.
things.
Yeah, great song.
Yeah, remember that? Deserts Miss the Rain. Great song.
So good. On repeat.
We're hoping that you can be along for the ride with us over the next hour-ish, and we'll all learn a little bit something about ourselves and each other.
And the world.
Yeah, something like that.
Sarah, it snowed this morning. And I know that you may have seen the article go around about California. Like all of California is going to get snow. Like no matter where you are, you're going to be able to see snow from wherever
Sure.
you are.
Yeah.
Like if you look.
Snow at lower elevations than usual.
Exactly. And I mean, we're like literally on the ocean. Like we are like 200 feet, yards, something like that from the cliff. A lot of you have seen the photograph I take often from my office window. So we're not far from the cliff, and it was snowing this morning. Not hailing, actually snowing. It was pretty magical.
I know that means that can mean all sorts of things, especially when you got to take care of a lot of plants and vegetation that aren't used to it. But was it pretty?
Oh, it was so pretty because like we've had a lot of hail. In fact, yesterday we had lots of little hail tornadoes and it was really crazy yesterday. And hail's exciting too and very loud, especially because we have a lot of windows. But the snow is just peaceful, and it's these
it's quiet.
It's quiet, and like you get like a variety of snowflakes. We're all individual snowflakes, and one's big, one's small.
We're all special.
They're all unique.
Special snowflakes, in fact.
Yep. And
no two are alike.
Very, very lovely, very cool. I mean, it's not going to happen for more than a minute, maybe, but I enjoyed it while it lasted. And then the grass is all white. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, that's unusual.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid, which is the same area more or less that I am right now. There was one morning, I remember I had a friend, Gina Lewis, was spending the night. And in the morning, my parents were like, "Get up, girls! You got to see this." And I mean, it was like maybe an inch of snow. But I mean, maybe not even an inch. I don't know. I guess an inch is like kind of a lot. But it was something that I hadn't seen outside of like going to Tahoe, to go skiing like on a vacation.
Yeah, it's different when it's snowing at home.
Oh yeah, I mean it wasn't actually snowing. It had just like there was a light dusting of snow, but enough to like make a few snowballs and go like, oh my god, this is so crazy.
This morning Elijah's like, "Do you want to go out and make some snow angels?" He's like, "You go out first. I'll meet you out there."
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, let's do that. But I'm not really ready to lay in the snow yet. Well, we didn't get any snow here, but as you said, Heather, extreme weather over on the West Coast. And, I've been getting alerts about it for days. This is not...
I know the lead up is
sort of... The lead up, yeah, where you kind of go like... Because, when you check the weather on, whatever app you end up using, I'm just using the iOS weather app at this point, even though we have lots of options. And you'll look at the weather, and then you look a couple hours later, and you're like, oh, it's changed a little bit.
Yeah,
it
always does.
You kind of like know that weather is coming, but you also know that things change, hour to hour. And so I was aware that, extreme severe weather, severe cold temperatures, severe wind. Cold temperatures, I mean, I don't want to freeze to death or anything, but I can deal with that. The wind is what scares
Yeah,
me.
totally.
And as I've told everybody, with all the trees around our property and really around just the area that I live in, there's just so many big ass trees that are lovely. But when you get
And they
wind
have
like
big
that,
branches that are like little mini trees.
oh yeah, yeah. So yesterday, the wind started to pick up. We've got this American flag that's hanging off of a deck on, the house that kind of I can look onto from my house, because there's a few different houses. And, the flag often just sort of, sits there. And even before the trees start getting crazy, when the flag starts getting crazy, I'm like, here we go. It's sort of my first indicator just because, it's impossible to miss when it's like flapping around. And then it started to get like windy to the point where Otis the dog was outside and he likes to sunbathe because it was sunny in this certain spot that's sort of right next to this large redwood grove. It's just like his favorite spot because, it's where like the afternoon or the morning, midday sun, I don't know, whatever time of day during this time of year hits it the best. And I was like, you got to come inside, bud. I mean, like, I don't want to be out there and I don't want you to be out there either. I mean, one branch comes down on you and, you're not in the right spot and it's curtains.
Yep.
And yesterday, by the time, I had gotten through work and, my afternoon podcast and everything. And, there was quite a bit of action of large branches and just debris, that was all over the yard. But then, I'm in my garage, my studio. There's a very small window behind me, but you're kind of looking in the other direction up against a fence. There's no real, I don't have a line of sight, when I'm in here. I'm basically in a cave. And when I emerged, I was like, holy F. Oh my gosh. Like, I couldn't drive out of my driveway right now. Like, and I like need help to like move these like massive, like 30-foot redwood branches that have now taken out yet more of our fence. At this point, the fence like shouldn't even be there. Like it's like a shell of itself. Oh my gosh, Heather. I mean, truly, I was like, okay, I like have to run an errand. Maybe I'll take my dog to this park, which is actually a school where it's like, it's basically just huge open fields. Not a lot. I mean, there's some trees around the perimeter, but like we can be like super safe out there and he can run around. But like, I still have to drive there. Not a long drive, but I'm driving under like precarious trees.
I never even thought about like living near trees like this, where it's like, I mean, because there are tree people everywhere all over this county cutting trees down and cutting branches down for safety. And like, I don't know, never really crossed my desk before. And now we had 4 trees. I took them down just preemptively because they looked sketchy. And their integrity was, they could have hit a dwelling. And yeah, it's a serious thing, man.
Well, when I first moved here, and this is pre-COVID, if you can believe that, I lived here for just a few short months before COVID just kind of locked everybody, down in a very different way. But there had been a big storm. I'm sure I talked about it on the show. There's no way I wouldn't have, but
you did.
An insanely large bay tree, a laurel bay, beautiful tree, but obviously it was going to come down eventually. Came through our yard, and I mean, it just by a miracle from God. I believe in God in moments like this. It did some damage, but it really didn't do any structural damage to the big stuff. Including my unit. And if it had just fallen a different way, it would have basically squarely fallen on me in bed. And I don't think I would have survived.
Yeah.
There's just no, I mean, you don't know how big this tree was. I mean, it was just absolutely insane. It kind of fell mostly in this big sort of brick area between 2 big houses. Anyway, because of that, I mean, I was spooked for months after that. Like anytime, even like in my car when I would be like, I don't know, driving down a country road and like an oak tree would sort of be hanging into the road a little bit. You know, even if it wasn't like during a storm, I'd just be like, it could break at any time,
Yeah.
and that would be the end of Sarah. You
Well,
know,
and it's like you
come
don't
right
even
through my sunroof
you don't even notice it until you notice it. You know, like I never
until
even
you notice
really
it.
thought about it until
Yeah.
no, I and you've
And
told
that's
me too. Like you're like I don't want to go across town because it's too windy tonight. I'm too scared of getting hit by
it's
a
too
tree.
windy, and it's like, you know, for
Valid
anyone who's sort of
concern.
like, well, I mean, you know, I mean, it's windy, you know,
What are
wind
the
happens. It's like,
chances? Yeah.
yeah, but around here, I mean, there are things that are so overgrown. And to be quite honest, even though we've also had arborists, I know that you've been dealing with that on your property lately, Heather, but we've had, you know, people come out and do extensive pruning of large trees. You know, like you know, all day. I mean, you look at, you know, you have to have a wood chipper,
Oh
the whole
yeah.
thing, you know, and you're like, I can't believe we just took this much off the trees. But then you look at them and you're like, they look the same. Like it doesn't even really look like sort of
know.
like when you get a haircut and your hair somehow looks longer afterwards.
Yep.
And you're like, didn't we take a bunch off? So yeah, anyway, the wind has died down. Life seems to be going back to normal, but our power went out, and you know, it's all the stuff. All the stuff.
Oh, tell me about it. Yeah, it's been the same up here. I mean, I really really relate to the people who, I mean, we don't live in like snowy peaked mountains. I'm sure there's a lot of other issues when you live that deep. But we live deep enough where we really feel the weather. We've been actually dealing with crazy weather like problems for a couple months now. And you know, I was in Mexico during like the big storm, which I still feel a little guilty about because we're still kind of dealing with the ramifications, you know. And the trees that fell down, we think actually maybe fractured some of our water system, our underground water system, because our pipes are getting to the point where they probably need
Oh,
to.
what fun.
Oh, tell me about it. I mean, this is one of the reasons why we're slightly late to get the show out this week, because I've had many a plumber, is beyond a plumber. They're like water system people, you know, like I know so much about this stuff now because we have a pump house, we have an underground water piping system. We have 9 acres with 5 houses that are spread apart. So you can imagine what that matrix looks like underground. And when you know there's leaks, but you don't see a geyser, we currently have like a phantom geyser somewhere because we are losing about 1,000 gallons of water an hour, which means there's some pipes
that's like-
underground. I know, it's insane.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, it's like popped open and it's flooding somewhere. But the reason why we're not seeing it above ground, we've been digging and looking and you know, for an area that might be a little wet, you know, puddle kind of thing, because that's usually like a good sign that there's a leak underground. But this time it's different because the water somehow is leaking further underground because we're not seeing it. We're essentially at the point where you're like, you really have to make that decision. Like, do you keep looking for a needle in a haystack or do you repipe the whole system? And when you're beyond 20 years of a certain pipe system where they use a piping material that's dated, you get to a point where there's not much you can do. So we're basically, I'm getting bids on like revamping like the entire water system infrastructure, which will be better in the long run. It should last 30 plus years, you know, but it's a huge price tag. A lot of work. I've had to cancel Airbnb guests. And yeah, we're kind of, it's funny because, you know, there's always good that comes out of bad. I truly believe that. You just have to kind of hold on until the good pops up. Like,
and you have to pay for it.
you have to pay for it. You have to pay for it. You have to write big checks. And
Yep.
the other day,
you pay for it with stress and checkbooks.
yes, if you're lucky, QuickBooks.
Well,
but, yeah.
You know, it wasn't that long ago, Heather, that we had a water issue on this property as well, which is, I'm still not totally sure that I understand what has been fixed and what has not.
Yeah.
And it's the same situation where, you know, we had, you know, the water company shut off our water because there was a leak. You know, it's like something's wrong over there. You know, not only you know, are you going to be charged for water you're clearly not using, but like you're wasting water.
Yes.
So, you know, no fault of their own, but then, you know, the water company shuts it off, but then like you have to have somebody come by and fix it to turn it back on.
Yep.
I mean, maybe you could get the water company to come back and turn it back on, but they're basically like, no, we're just like gonna keep you from wasting water,
Yeah,
and
we
then
do
you
this,
figure it out,
and then you
buddy.
have to call someone else. No, it's the
Yeah.
same thing. Like we had a septic
Yeah.
alarm, a septic tank alarm go off also in the midst of all this, and that means that it's something's wrong with it or it's full. So you have to call one person, one company to drain the septic tank before you can even have someone diagnose what's going on. That's one company. I'm like, why can't there just be one company that does all three steps?
Yeah.
You know, but I have to call three
this
separate
is
people.
why
It drives me nuts.
This is why, I was about to say, this is why I love renting. I mean, I don't
no,
love
yeah,
renting
no, I
because
get
you're
it.
throwing money away, but somebody else has to deal with the problem. Except, I mean, in my adult life as a renter, that's always been the case. Sometimes it's a hassle, but you still you don't really, get the brunt of the issue. The landlord
you
does.
don't.
Where I live now, because I'm a property manager, it's sort of like
kinda have to
I am
deal,
both
too.
renting and dealing with everything because it's not that, the owners of the property don't care. It's just they can't do much.
No.
And I
They're
am
not
the only
there.
one here. And yeah, it's a whole thing. I know that I'm a broken record about this stuff, but speaking of properties, over the weekend had some friends in town. They had come up to wine country. A lovely couple with their two little kids, who were also very lovely kids. I mean, as kids go, they were pretty cute. And we hung out. The weather was nice. It hadn't gotten like crazy windy or none of that. It was actually really temperate and lovely, and did some wine tasting and just stuff that you want to do when people come to visit. And everybody could never fit into my house, so we were kind of all holed up in the big house, as we call it, the main house, because there's a ton of room, and there's beds galore, and the it has like radiant heating on the kitchen tile floor and stuff around.
Love
Like,
that.
ooh, so fancy, because I never hang out over there. Like, it's either empty or there are Airbnb guests in there. It's like, it's not my house. And normally I kind of like, I still just like my own space, but we were all, it was like, yeah, we're all hanging out together. So we were all over there. And on the variety of beds to choose from, there's like a couple king beds, couple twin beds. Well, there's actually 3 king beds and 2 twin beds, and then like 4 couches. Like, there are lots of places to spread out if you want to. And which is why we get groups of 16 being like, can we do this? And I'm like, well, you won't all have beds, but like, you can, if you're not that picky about where you lay down at night. You certainly have blankets and pillows. So I ended up sleeping, on one of the beds that is like a memory foam mattress. I think it's a Casper mattress, but I'm not totally sure, but something like that. And I used to have a memory foam mattress back in the day. It was actually, I lost it in a breakup. When we moved, he took the mattress and I had to buy a new one. That is the mattress that I still have in my house. So that's a
How many
10-year-old
years?
mattress.
Wow, yeah, it's time.
It's a 10-year-old mattress, and it was a real nice mattress when I got it. I mean, I didn't like go like totally nuts, but I was like, first of all, I'm pretty salty that I'm the one who has to buy a new mattress. So I might as well invest in something that I really like. I had gotten a new bed frame at the same time, so it was like, okay, we're gonna start over, and we're gonna really like our bedroom set. So that was, yeah, that's the mattress that I've had this whole time. And I don't care who you are or what you do at night or how often you shower or who's in bed with you. I do not judge people, but let's just be honest, mattresses get gross. They just do. If you have a child who's like wetting the bed and you cover the mattress in something that's like waterproof, okay, I guess the mattress would
But
stay
that's not super comfortable
mostly intact.
to sleep on a
And
waterproof.
yeah, and never absorb just sort of stuff. But even just, I don't know, like, even just, I mean, I overheat at night. I mean, not every night, but like some nights I do, and it's like, that isn't nothing, like, that gets absorbed by all sorts of things. Like, we're humans, we're disgusting. So my mattress has, and I have like a mattress pad, and I have several layers, that are between, me and the mattress, and clean sheets are, I'm really good about that. Love my sheets, but it's time, Heather. It's time for a new mattress.
I can't believe it's been 10 years because
you
I
know,
want to say there is an earlier episode from way back when we were talking about getting a new mattress. Maybe it was me, I don't know, but one of us was. So, but we haven't been doing the show for 10 years. So, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I dreamt it.
I am keenly aware of when I bought that new mattress because it's 2023 and this all happened in January of 2013.
Wow.
So I mean, I have a legit 10-year-old and a little change mattress.
So 2013.
And it's not like you lay on it and go, "Ooh, God, this mattress is, poking me," or, anything like that. In fact, I think it's still feels great. Like, it's my mattress, like when I get into my own fresh bed, I'm like, this is heaven,
2013, where were we? Do you know?
We were in SF.
Was it revision 3 time?
We
Maybe?
No, it was
God,
post.
I can't. Oh,
Way
really?
post.
I might have been back in LA. I don't remember. I can't keep track.
I was working at Twit. So
Engadget, maybe. That's maybe where I was.
No, you weren't at
then.
Engadget yet because you started at Engadget when I started at TechCrunch. Come on, Heather, get it together.
I'm gonna have to think about this offline.
Yeah, but So anyway, I it's time to get a new mattress. I mean, the mattress just, it's seen a lot of apartments. Oh my gosh! I mean, it's it's sort of a wonder it's in the shape that it's in. Quite honestly, because it's not like it's just sort of like laid quietly in a corner all this time. It's like it's been
Sure.
up and down many flights of stairs, traveled to multiple cities, been in the back of a sweltering moving truck. I mean, how many times have I moved even since then? 1, 2,
So
3,
many.
4, 5
You're going to move
times?
again too. Maybe you
Since-
should wait until you move to get the
gonna move
new
again.
mattress.
Oh yeah. The new mattress isn't going to be bought tomorrow. Quite honestly, if I could be decadent, I would love a king size bed, even though, I really only need a twin because I'm a small person. But, a king size bed,
Don't get a
it's
twin.
like when I'm in a hotel room in a king size bed, I'm just like, there's so much bed. Oh my God.
It really is.
You can just have a party
I
on
also
this bed.
I like how
But,
your feet don't hang over the edge.
well, my feet wouldn't hang over
That's
any
true.
edge
That's
of
true.
anything. Yeah, you give me a love seat, I'm good to go. But no, I won't be buying a king size mattress. Certainly not where I live now because it wouldn't fit
Mm-hmm.
in the area that my queen size bed fits nicely. But buying a king size mattress before you know sort of where your next spot is going to be is kind of reckless,
Yeah.
right? Because it's like bedrooms are many shapes and sizes, and a king size bed is awesome, especially if there's like a couple people that are going to be sleeping in it. But I've had quite a few apartments where it's like that would have just not worked, or it would have looked really weird, or just been like, I don't know, just a kind of aggro decision to put in there.
Yeah.
Kind of like
Presumptuous.
having a large bully breed dog, which I also have. Turns out that, I've only lived, when I lived, the apartment that I lived in when I adopted Otis, I already had 2 cats. I adopted Otis, didn't ask the landlord if that was okay, because there were just other dogs in the building. Never really thought about it. Nobody seemed to have an issue. And then when I moved to the apartment after that, this was still when I lived in LA, that was the first like big slap in the face that I got where I was like, oh yeah, because I'd never had a dog before. I mean, a lot of places are just like no dogs, no exceptions. But then a lot of other places are like, yeah, a dog under 30 pounds, like that would be okay. And like the landlord has to meet the dog type thing. And like no dogs like your dog. And I experienced, a lot of what I call bully breed bullying, where they're like, oh, you have a boxer? No way. Nope. But he's such a like small little baby of a dog. He's just in a large body. And they're like, nope, you have a killer dog. You are not going to live in my house. So it took like kind of a while to find a cool apartment where the landlord didn't care. And now I live where I live, and the landlord is fine with it. But I'm like, oh, here we go again, because I know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna fall in love with my dream apartment, and they're gonna say, not with
No
that dog.
dogs. Yeah,
And
totally.
I'm gonna go, all right, well, I'll keep looking then,
Yeah.
because Otis isn't going
It
anywhere.
definitely gets more challenging for sure. Maybe you could get maybe like a little small house, with a little yard or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly where that dream home of mine is, but I feel like I've always had pretty good renter's luck. Like I've never lived in an apartment that I was just like, I hate it here and I just have to do this. And I know a lot of people do, and hey, I might be looking at that, sooner than later. So, never say never, but I feel like I've always kind of made something work where I'm like, I really like this place, for these reasons. Like this is my home, even if it's temporary. Anyway, I'm done talking about that, Heather. I need a new mattress, period.
Well, yes, this is very exciting. So what I was going to say is that, obviously you should go around to some bedding stores and sit on some mattresses, even if you buy it online or whatever. But I did the same thing about, I guess the last time I was in LA, we have been in the market for a new couch for a while. My boyfriend is 6'2", and I've had the same couch for quite a long time. I brought it up from LA, had it in many apartments in LA, so it was kind of time. And it was an okay couch. It wasn't that great, but it worked. And the only problem with it for him was the back was kind of a low back. It wasn't necessarily like a low rider couch because it was up on, maybe like, I don't know, like almost a foot of legs. And the back though, like, cause his shoulder, he's got a big back, he's 6'2". So his shoulders would sort of slump over and he didn't have the support. And so it really got very uncomfortable for him. So we wanted to take our time. We didn't want to be impulsive. So when we went to Los Angeles, just because there's not like a ton of like couch shops up here to, sit on stuff, but it helped so much to go and sit. And we actually chose the one that we loved the most that we sat in. And oh my gosh. So amidst all of the chaos that has been living in the Pacific Northwest, this last like couple months, and especially this last week with the water system, this off the grid hard work stuff. There were such silver linings yesterday because our couch arrived in the midst of a crazy hailstorm.
Oh, you got
We
a
got it.
couch.
Well, we ordered it a while ago. It was the one that we found in LA a while back. And then we had to order it and it took a while. And of course it's delayed. I mean, takes a while. As you know,
Yeah,
supply
everybody
chain,
who's
everything.
ordered furniture
Yeah. And
knows
I
this,
didn't
yeah.
think the guy, so then you have like the delivery system, which is separate from the company that calls you and they schedule a delivery, which it got pushed. And then it was like, we're coming next week, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. And then this big storm was coming. So I'm like, there's no way they're going to show up during this, like huge truck, blah, blah, blah. But they did in the middle of the day yesterday. And it was just like, otherwise a very chaotic day. And around like 2:30 they roll up and it was just it was like a big present, is all wrapped up and you watch them set it up and it was very exciting. And I feel like we did real good. I did so much like research to find the perfect couch for both of us and for the room. And I really think we did a good job because it's so epic and so wonderful. And I was thinking last night, because I have these like little slivers of time that I can just chill these days. And so we'll have dinner in the evening and then we spend an hour, maybe a little more on the couch watching a movie until we're really tired. And so last night it was just this like tiny amount of time we were on the couch because we were exhausted. And I'm like, what else could I do on this epic couch to make it so worth it? Because I don't want to just be there for like an hour a day or a night or whatever. Like email us at hihavesuchagoodday.com. What other things can I do on this epic couch?
Well, Heather, this is a show that's, mostly not rated R, so I'm not going to get into things that you can do on your couch, but you can, you can like
Make
I don't know.
out,
See,
eat lunch.
I am, as much as I, been talking about, mattresses and how much I love my bed, which is true, because I like to sleep almost more than I like to be awake. But being like cozy and comfy on a couch, exactly like what you're describing, where it's like, let's put on some PJs. I don't care if it's 6 p.m. Let's eat dinner on the
Yep.
couch. Let's just live on this
Yeah.
thing and
That's what I want
soak
to
it
do.
up.
That's what I want to do. I don't
That's
really
what
have
you, and I
time.
want this for you.
I thank you, and I hope
You
I
don't have time.
maybe this weekend we can do a little more chilling, especially with the the cold weather, and if it's snowing and hailing outside, it's like the only thing I want to do is lay on the couch. But one other amazing thing happened during the craziness of all the things that have been broken and yeah, it's just all the chaos. Is my brother came up this weekend, my stepbrother, but I kind of consider him my brother. He brought up his girlfriend, who he's been with for quite a while. I would say 8 years. She's lovely. I've met her before. She's from Montreal and she's a cook. She's like a professional chef. She's lovely, and they
I love your
I know
details. I like her. She's from Montreal and she's a chef.
Oh, she's so cute. She's just a fun hang. And so they came up kind of last minute. My sister had just left and we were a little bit like, oh, another guest, because it does kind of, it takes us away from solving all the problems and keeping the business going.
Of course.
But it's fine.
Yeah, even if you're having the best time ever, you're still hosting.
Exactly. And they were only here for a couple days, but it was really nice. I did pull away and I spent a lot of time with them and toward it was like the last afternoon where there was a break in the weather and it was like a sunny day. This was Sunday, I believe, a couple days ago. And I'm in my office. I'm on the phone with my friend Melissa. Melissa, it was on like speakerphone. My window was open and I was kind of looking out at the ocean, and she had wanted to cut his hair out on the bluff because then it just flies away in the wind. And so she's out there like cutting his hair, and then I'm kind of like checking in, looking out there, seeing what they're doing, and then they stopped doing that and they like kind of stood at the edge of the cliff and like hugged each other, and the ocean was so blinding from where I was at, like you look at the ocean, it's just like the sun's hitting it, it's like blinding you, and all I can see is this silhouette it was like a music video of them just kind of, talking and hugging. And then I hear a shriek. And, meanwhile, I'm still on the phone with my friend. And I'm like, wait a minute. I think they may have gotten engaged just now. Because I told her I'm watching them on the cliff. And then
well, see, I was thinking this. I don't know the story yet. Okay, keep going.
it was so cool. And I'm like, and I'm watching them, but all I can see is their silhouettes. So it's like I'm watching like a puppet show or something, And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Let me see. I might be wrong. Hold on. But then I see her kind of like in the silhouette, like look at her hand and then like hug him. And like, it just, the whole gesturing was just so like obvious. And then I was like, I really think they did. They totally, I'm feeling like this is just this magical
like
moment.
what else would I be watching right now?
And so then they finally kind of walked up by my window and I was like, oh my God, did you guys just get engaged like out the window? And they were like, yes. And it was just such a like amazing. In fact, I think I made it way more amazing than they even needed because they're like, well, we've been shopping for rings. So it wasn't like that big of a surprise. And I'm like making this huge deal, popping champagne, go out to dinner, and we're like celebrating, and I just think it was funny the way I took it kind of on this other level. They're like, it's not that big of a deal. I'm like, it is for me. That was like really cool to witness,
It's a big deal.
It was a totally
I mean,
big
even
deal.
if you're like, we've already decided that we want to get married and, we've made plans and this is just sort of like, checking that, official box.
And
but
that was
like,
part of it
not a
too.
huge surprise. It's like, it's still exciting.
It was so exciting. I was so like happy to just be a witness because I could have been in the other room and I wouldn't even have seen it, but it was so fun to just see it all go down. So yeah, we ended up having this just long, like indulgent dinner, with cocktails and champagne. And it was a lot of fun. But yeah, and then there was a rainbow and, so my point of all the stories that I always tell ever is that if you're having a bad day or you're having a bad week, you're going to bounce back and there's going to be good stuff coming your way. It's almost like you have to pay for it. You have to pay for the pleasure. You know what I mean? So just hang tough out there if you're going through it.
Hang tough. Yeah. I mentioned, the crazy windy storm knocked out our power. That happened yesterday. It wasn't dark yet, and our generator like has been fixed. So, I mean, the reason I say this is because there have been quite a few instances where it already was dark. So, like when the power goes out, it's like, all right, well, you light some candles or you just go to bed. I mean, you only have a couple options here, you know? Maybe there's a flashlight. And if the generator doesn't work, then, you know, you don't have backup power. Well, our generator has been somewhat on the fritz for a variety of reasons the entire time I've lived here. So when the power goes out, in a perfect world, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yep.
and the generator, you know,
Kicks
and
on.
you know how it is. Yeah, yeah. I've never had a generator before, but you know, when it works great. You know, and you have to like wait for the internet to come back on, and like some things are still kind of wonky. Like my whole studio downstairs goes out, and I have to like trip the breaker to like get my internet back. But it's not really hard to do. But it's like it took me like hours the first time this happened to figure out how to do it. But anyway, so power goes out, generator kicks on, and there's still a couple of us on the property at this point. The friends have left, which is good, you know, because it's like when you got little kids, you know, that sort of thing. It's like just like way more inconvenient. And so we were like, well, we were about to make dinner, but maybe we should just like go somewhere close by where we know, like, you know, there's a pub that's down the street. They have like plenty of food, but it's a pub, you know. And you know, we called them and they're like, "Yeah, we're fine. Power's on. Come on over." You know, and we were like, "You know, wouldn't it suck if like the generator just like gets weird right in the middle of like cooking this chicken, you know, that Sarah's like trying to make good." So we leave. We're like, "Let's just get out of here for a second." You know, it's just been like, you know, ugh, what a day, you know, with the wind and the trees and everything. And so we go down to the pub, which is a real it's a neighborhood spot. I mean, everything around here is like a neighborhood spot, you know, where it's just, I mean, you would get some tourists, but it really is kind of a locals place, which means colorful folk, all walks of life. And I love that kind of place, but you never know who you're going to sit next to, kind of thing. And we go in there and it's not busy at all. You know, there's a few people, you know, sitting at the bar and you know, eating and, you know, having beers and stuff. But so, you know, we're sitting there and there's some people on our left that apparently were weird. I didn't even really notice them. But then there's a guy on our right he seemed like he was sort of getting ready to go. You know, he had eaten and, you know, had gotten his check. And we're, you know, sitting down and friendly and, oh, you know, you know, power's out. Yeah, power's out. Oh, whereabouts do you live? And he explains it to me. And what he's explaining it to me, and I'm like, that sounds like exactly where I live. Where do you live? Like, not to be nosy, but, you know, here's where you know, my intersection. And he was like, oh, yeah, I live like right down the street from you. And I'm like, oh, you're the one who has the 2 dogs that bark at my dog every time we walk by. And, you know, we're sort of laughing about it, you know, and getting to know him. Really nice person, very friendly. And, you know, so we're all just, you know, and then he kind of was like, you can tell that he was like, maybe I'll stay for dessert and like hang out with these random strangers who are actually my, you know, not next door neighbors, but like a 5-minute walk, if that, away. And, you know, he got this like ridiculously large, like, I don't know, ice cream sundae, you know, where I'm like, wow, that was a bold move. And ate the whole thing. And, you know, we were all just kind of chatting. And it was one of those things where, because I have I know not all of my neighbors, not by a long shot, but I know a lot of the people who live around here. And some of those people are pretty eccentric. I mean, and they would probably say the same thing about me. And, you know, I kind of, you know, I like to know what's going on in the hood. And some of it is less, I don't know if unsavory is the kindest term, but, you know, there are some people who are living on the edge a little bit, you know, let's just say that. And, you know, this guy he just was like, just this cool guy that I had never met before. And, you know, had this whole story about, you know, working in like local politics in Forestville, California, where I'm like, wow, that's so interesting. I just like don't know anybody who like really wanted to join the school board that badly. And that's like good to know. And it was like, like the story doesn't really go anywhere. Like there's no like, and then this crazy thing happened. It was like, he eventually left and we finished up our food and we went home. And, at that point, I don't know if the power was back on or the generator was still working. It was up and down pretty much for the next 12 hours or so. But it was just like one of those nice experiences where you're like, it's fun to meet strangers sometimes.
I like those neighborhood
and
haunts too. And you loved that. Like that was a
yeah,
huge
and you
part
just
of
sort
your
of sit there and shoot
existence
the
in LA.
shit, and
Yeah.
yeah, and like it wasn't even like, oh, we should all like hang out later. It's like,
Yeah.
you don't, it's sort of like I'll see you around.
Totally.
And I love that stuff.
Me too.
And so anyway, the crazy wind and the power outage and me fearing for my life and hoping not to have my dog impaled by a redwood branch ended up being a pretty okay eve.
Exactly.
So there you go.
See, there is a moral to the story, Sarah.
I don't know what the moral is.
Well,
Keep
just
your head up.
Yeah, keep your head up because there's always tomorrow. The sun will come up tomorrow, as Annie says. But yeah, I just wanted to mention one last thing. So I don't want to go down to some weird rabbit hole with this, but I mentioned at the top of the show, and Sarah, you and I talked offline about this because I was just when it happened actually, and I thought who better to talk to about it? Somebody who is immersed in technology. But I've been wondering this for a while since several people that I love deeply left my life. They passed away. And most of you know this story. But like when ethically, like when is it okay to give like that person's cell phone number to like a new person? Because at some point they're probably going to recycle the phone number, right? You kind of can't blame them. It's not like you can just get rid of the number altogether just for respect and just never ever
Well, I
use
don't
that
think,
number.
Yeah, I don't think any cell phone carrier, and if someone knows, correct me if I'm wrong, but the carrier isn't going to give you some grace period because someone passed
No,
away.
they're not. And
You know,
maybe
it's
they
a number
should,
that just
but-
goes to somebody else.
Exactly. And there may
Yeah.
be, I was trying to figure out like, is there like a standard grace period? I don't think there is. There may be, with certain carriers, I'm not sure. But I've been, and there's the other piece of it where it's like, do you keep, a deceased person's phone number and contact info in your phone forever? Or do you delete it after a certain period of time? What is the right thing to do? I'm sure it's like not one size fits all kind of thing. But I've kept these people in my phone, in my favorites even. And it's sometimes, haunting because then you've got a phone call from that place, but it's like, whoever lives there now and that kind of thing. So the other day, I did receive a text message from it was the name that I gave them in my phone. So it was like extra personal. And it was a strange sort of, combination of eggplant and unicorn emojis. And it was just odd. It was very like, double take, like, wait, what? And it's, I didn't get upset about it really. It was just something that made me think, like, do I keep this contact in my phone forever as sort of a digital memento? Or, what do I do? It's such an interesting territory to discuss. And I would love to hear from y'all out there about this, like if you have thoughts, because it's kind of morbid, but it's also reality and it's technology. And we have to.
Well, and if you have like text message history or voicemails, it's like people, when my dad passed away, we were not in smartphone territory yet. He also wasn't a big phone talker. So, if I would have had recordings or kind of paper trails, between me and him, I probably would have, really wanted to keep them. That would have been something that meant a lot to me. I don't really have a lot of that, but I know people who, a friend of mine, her dad passed away. Gosh, I mean, it was over a year ago now. And for whatever reason, maybe she had gotten a new phone and they had promised her like, oh yeah, you just iCloud backup,
Yeah.
for an iPhone, and everything will be restored, but like voicemails weren't, and she lost her shit.
Yeah.
Understandably, because she was like, no, 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 like you have to find, like, I need these, like this is like the only thing I have left, really, really, really important to me, and was kicking herself for like, God, I should have saved them in some other way. I'm so upset about it. I don't actually remember how that rectified itself, but I believe that she ended up getting them back. But I know what you mean, Heather. Like that's to have where the person is never going to contact you again. Not the way that, they're not going to send you two emojis.
No, and especially
Not that
those
person.
emojis
There's no way
either,
that's possible.
which is so weird because then like what you were saying is you can see the history above it. So that those are from someone else, but it still has the name of the person that you love. That's what's that threw me. And then you look above and you see the last time you talked was years ago, and it's bizarre.
I've had friends who have gotten new phone numbers, and I either didn't know that or I was just not thinking about it, and so I like either text or call the number that I have for them in my contacts, and you usually get like a curt reply like wrong number, or I'm like, ooh, shoot. Okay, let me like figure this out. But and so that happens, but it's like for someone to contact you, okay, let's say the number has been recycled. It is now given to a new person. Okay, that's pretty standard. That part isn't very weird, but why you would be in their contacts, because it's too coincidental that they would just like pick your number. Like let's say that they're trying to send emojis to somebody else, and it's not supposed to be to you. It's like, what are the chances that they would use your, like that doesn't make any sense. Like there's some crossing of wires thing that's happening, which is annoying more than anything, but I could see how it would rattle you.
Yeah, it's interesting. But I'd love to hear from you on this subject. Maybe we'll talk about it again, or hopefully it's not too morbid for you. I apologize if it is, but I guess it is something sort of real, and it's the effects of technology that we've created. So I'd be really curious to hear your thoughts. Hi at havesuchagoodday.com. And Sarah Lane, we have a new friend who just joined the Discord, Damien, from the the Switzerland part of the world, which is probably actually maybe even warmer there right now because Europe is experiencing strange high temperatures,
unseasonably warm weather.
Yes. And it's funny,
cool?
And it snowed here this morning. So hi, Damien. I'm so glad you joined us. It was funny because when he was reaching out about getting into the Discord, he sent us a note and said, it's not urgent, except that I need to communicate my dislike of lentils, which is what we talked
because Heather was talking about her lentil soup last week.
He doesn't like lentils.
And we were like, who doesn't like lentils? But if you don't, let us
So
know.
he wins the lentil prize because he's the only one we've heard from. So if you do hate lentils, please don't hesitate to reach out. But we've been kind of discussing why he doesn't like lentils in the Discord, among other, Last of Us and all kinds of fun discussions that are happening lately. So you're missing out if you're not in there. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
So if you're like, what? Discord? What's happening? Just a reminder, patreon.com/havesuchagoodday is where you can find out more how to directly support our show. We are community supported. It's you and Heather and me. That's who keeps the show afloat. And, we know that many of you subscribe to lots of podcasts. And if you can't part with a few bucks a month, that is totally cool. We're never going to charge for this. But if you can, then you get an ad-free show and you get perks like joining our Discord and, chatting with really cool folk who are like-minded, although some of us like lentils and some of us don't. Because, again, we're all very special snowflakes. And, we thank everybody for being along for the ride with us. Episode 179 wrapping up now. We are, I would say it's a slow march to episode 200, but I think it's going to be here before we know it. So let's keep the train
chugging along. And we're so grateful for you. But until next week, I will try my best to remain Heather.
And I will be Sarah forever.
Have
such a good day.
day.